Wow. People use computers for many things. Or should I say, computers are used for many things. Either way, I have said the same thing about the use of computers. But this has reminded me of something that would interest us. In the English language, there are different options for us. We just saw an instance. My first expression, people use computers for many things, is an active sentence, while the second, computers are used for many things, is a passive sentence. This might sound all Greek, so let's bring it home. There is something called voice in English. By voice, I do not mean my feminine voice or that of the man beside me, but a quality of verbs. This quality indicates the relationship between a verb or verb phrase and the participant, that is, the subject, object, and so on, in a clause or sentence. There are two types, the active voice and the passive voice. Let's examine the active voice. We often use the active voice in many sentences. In such sentences, the subject directly performs the action, that is, it is the doer. Examples: Zain bought a new phone. My dog catches fish. For the passive voice, a switch occurs. The subject is no longer the doer. Rather, the action is received by the subject. I also use the passive voice there. So, what is the structure of a passive sentence? Let's examine the structure using an example. Daniel sold the generator. This is an active sentence. To derive the passive form, the following happens. 1. The grammatical object occupies the subject position, and the grammatical subject will become the object of a prepositional phrase that begins with by. 2. It should include a to-be verb, followed by a past participle of the original verb. Examples of to-be verbs include be, am, is, are, was, were, been, and being. Examples of past participle forms include gone, the past participle of go, written, the past participle of write. Also, the passive voice can include other primary auxiliary verbs and modal verbs depending on the verbs that are in the active structure. So, in this sentence, the appropriate to be verb that agrees with the generator and is in the past tense is was. The past participle of sold is still sold, so we have was sold. Our passive structure is noun. The generator was sold by Daniel. At times, the original or grammatical subjects are not mentioned, as in the generator was sold. While the active voice and passive voice are options for us, it is advisable to use the active voice. It makes our writing more interesting. This does not mean that the passive voice is incorrect. In fact, you can use it when you want to place emphasis on the object of a verb rather than the subject. For instance, old people love Kojo, and Kojo is loved by old people. In the first sentence, which is active, emphasis is on old people. And in the second, which is passive, emphasis is on Kojo. When you don't know who performed an action, you can also use the passive voice, as in, a man has been killed. In summary, clause structures in the English language can either be in the active or passive voice. The active voice is more common than the passive voice. One can transform a passive structure to an active one and vice versa. Let's draw the curtain here and cheers to this new knowledge you have acquired. See you in the next lesson.